Okay, here we go. I'm like a head trip to listen to. I'm like a head trip to listen to. I'm like a head trip to listen to. This is gonna be quick, Jack. I'm like a head trip to listen to. Because all the giving you things you talk about with the friends inside the living room. Okay, alright, we got this, we got this. Big breath. I'm like a head trip to listen to. I'm like a head trip to listen to. I'm like a head trip to listen to. Okay. Okay. I'm like a head trip to listen to. Because I'm only giving you things you talk about with the friends inside the living room. The only difference is the boss said in front of y'all. Now I gotta be false and sugarcoat it all. I just gonna make it spit it whether you like to admit it. Rip, I just shit it, but 90% rappers out there. Then you wanna have kids, the upside down balance funny. Cause around going, I'm 30. I'll be the only posting that's gonna funny. Bitch, straight sexual, I'm checking, I'm a kicking, I'm checking. So back by action working. Every single person still shit, living to give you working, the work next week on your ranks. Really fucking let circling, screaming, I don't give a fuck. But the sun's down to the system up. So the real shitty police saying that number. What else is going on each hand? You're proud to be out of your mind, out of control. And one more time, let's you get that's the goal.
Thank you for that, host. Herbie, like, you were listening to Leon Brat.
There we go.
Check him out on twitch.tv/Leon Brat with 2 T's. He's playing.
That was very fast.
He's doing some guitar requests in the morning.
Critters, thank you
Pretty
for
great.
100 bits as well. Nice one.
Pretty
Thank you, guys.
great.
Thank you for all the kind words. You absolute beautiful people. Thank you so much. And Tallulah, thank you very much for the 100 bits as well. Thank you so much. Okay, next up, we're going to play I'm a Believer. I'm a Believer. This is by the Monkeys. And then I think after that we'll do Just Can't Get Enough for Rage. We'll leave it like that, actually. Then we got A Whole Lot of Love by Led Zeppelin, and then I Got You by Duke Dumont as a live learn. Clean. Let's go. Man, my first stream here. I'm already absolutely in love with your music. Hey, nice one, mate. I appreciate that. And guys, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the family.
And we're back. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual strength. Waking the globe up. Mentally, physically, spiritually, and then physically again. Why? To feel better objectively. How? Through your only no-nonsense podcast, brought to you through the Best Feeling Network. Good morning, it's 5:33 a.m. Good morning. And this is Falgo On. Good morning! I hope you were able to feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times, and feeling the front of the shins. And then remembering that you do not sit in your legs. Remember, all of these words in one ear and out the other. It is Wednesday, Warfare Wednesday, on July 21st, 2021. Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. Today on Warfare Wednesday, we discuss Karen, this movie called Karen. And we prove how racism don't exist on Pagawan. We'll be right back. Good morning, wherever you are, wherever thou art, wherever you are joining us from. Thank you so much for coming through. Whether you are joining us here and hanging out with us in the morning here at 5:35 a.m., or you are in the future somewhere, a future traveler, somehow grabbing technology, audio, visuals from a ghost, like a ghost grabbing stuff from the internet. Hello, welcome to Pal Go On. Good morning. How are you? Will you do me a favor with me? Pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips real quick. Pretend that there's a lit candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And leave your swallowing muscles alone. Again, pretend with me that there is a candle, a lit candle in front of your mouth that you're trying to not put out. And then thinking about leaving your swallowing muscles alone. One more time. Pretend with me that there's a candle, a lit candle in front of your lips. And next, pretend with me that you are leaving your swallowing muscles alone. And how does that feel for you? Here on Pago One, your only no-nonsense podcast, we're here about welcoming you back to yourself. As in your sense of self. As in, how does it feel to pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips you're trying to not put out, and leave your swallowing muscles alone? Our sense of self. As in, how does that feel right now compared to other times? As in, how do you know that your left hand feels different than your right hand? As in, how do you know that your chest is different than your butt? With your eyes closed, how do you know that your left foot is different than your right? Don't we have a kind of sense of self? When you get off the wrong side of the bed versus the right side of the bed, how do you know that this is true? How do you know that you got off the wrong side of the bed? Why is that a phrase? Why is it a phrase? What are you feeling when you feel the right side of the bed versus the wrong side of the bed? Well, I hope you're feeling the front of your shins, but what are you sensing this through? A sense of self. A sense of kinesthesia. The problem is that we do not have 5 senses, we actually have 6 senses. As in, our 6th sense is this kinesthesia that we ground the other senses in. Right? Your sense of self, your sense of balance. Your sense of self, your sense of balance. As in, how does it feel to place the weight of the body down towards the front of the spine, and then dividing your weight into the rainbow arches and allowing them to go into your seat using these sit bones and not your legs? As in, how does that feel? As opposed to trying to place the weight into this tailbone here and into the back portion of the spine, which is the spiny portion of the spine, which is meant to house the nerves. Don't you have this 6th sense, this sense of your body's position in relationship to itself, so you even know what it feels like to get off the wrong side of the bed or the right side of the bed? For you to even know those things, to how it feels to get off the wrong side of the bed versus the right side of the bed. Isn't it kind of grounded in your sense of body, your body's sense of self? We never get away from our senses here on the No Nonsense podcast. And today is Warfare Wednesday. We're always discussing relationships here on Pago On. Even this feeling with your sense of self is a relationship. As in, how strong is that relationship? What is that relationship like? Is it one which the body is left behind or abused? Or is it one where the body is well known and integrated? Is the relationship between the sense of self and you one that is intimate and commonly used? Or one that's hidden and only accessed when in private? The sense of self. And we talk about relationships with the sexes on Tuesdays. But on Wednesday, we talk about the relationship We're also talking about the relationship with the sense of self, but on Wednesday especially, we're talking about relationship not just with the sense of self, but the relationship with you and the world on Warfare Wednesdays. As there is constantly a battle for your soul. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? Aren't we already like living in a world that's already trying to undermine you at any given moment? Doesn't that feel true? How does that resonate with you? There's this movie called Karen that we're going to talk about today. Not that you have to go and see it, but there's a trailer which says it all. Or rather, we will just be discussing the trailer, as everything just exists in space and time. Good morning. Do you know what Karen is? What we're going to talk about today is, what do you think about racism? If someone said racism doesn't exist, how would you feel? How does that vibe with you? How does it feel if someone were to say racism don't exist? What's your first reaction? Are you pretending that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? And then remember to leave your swallowing muscles alone. Today, we talk about racism doesn't exist. How could that be possible? As you're pretending that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone. Remember, all these words in one ear and out the other. Again, all these words in one ear and out the other. As we discuss these topics, how do you feel about that? Today we talk about how racism doesn't exist. We prove that racism doesn't exist. Are you ready? We prove that racism doesn't exist. How do you feel about that? Can racism be proven wrong? What do you mean, Herbie? How do you feel about that? How do you feel when people say racism don't exist? What's your first reaction? Pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying not to put out. And remember that you do not sit on your legs as you leave your swallowing muscles alone. I'm gonna prove that racism don't exist. What's your first reaction? We'll be right back. Short break. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual strength. Waking your worlds up, your globe up, physically, then mentally, then spiritually again. How? Through your only no-nonsense podcast, brought to you by the Best Feeling Network. I'm your host, Herbie. Good morning, and this is Go On. It is 5:45 a.m. this morning. I hope you're feeling fantastic. I hope you're able to feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the times. Whatever you are, wherever you're doing, whatever you are doing. Whether you are out there shopping with a shopping cart, whether you are talking to your parents, maybe you are rocking the baby to sleep, maybe you're putting on new clothes, maybe you're brushing your teeth, maybe you are flossing your teeth, maybe you are boxing at the gym, maybe you are jogging at the gym, maybe you're jogging outside. Whatever you are doing, as we are stretching our self-awareness today like a muscle, feeling ourselves, our individual selves within this gigantic globe, but also feeling this gigantic globe that is composed of all these individual selves. These human beings, amazing human beings, you godlike creatures, you amazing creatures, you good morning. Were you able to pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? Remembering to leave the swallowing muscles alone. And how does that feel for you? How does that feel for you? One more time, how does that feel for you? Pretending that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles on. Today, on Warfare Wednesday, Warfare Wednesday, Warfare Wednesday, Warfare Wednesday, wee. Ray. In the form of this movie called Karen, apparently. You can go watch the trailer. Important thing is that it's like a bite off of Get Out. At least that's what I hear on the commentary. But from what I see, it's pretty heavily focused on people pleasing and all sorts of very surface level ideas of like hatred of, oh, they don't like me. You know who doesn't care about your skin color? Your freaking bones. Here on Go On, as we are simply disproving racism, we're simply looking at the bones, we're simply looking at the design. As we know to love life and not to fear death, we look at the design. Always on Go On, as we are loving life more and fearing death less, we look at the design. Isn't that true? What do you mean by that, Herbie? As in when you look at the bike, you know that it can be there and then in the future. It can be somewhere else. How do you know that? Because of its design. Because it has wheels that are connected to the bike by such and such mechanism, and they're free to move. And by nature of just how you know balance works and how you know a bike works, you know that it is possible for it to someday be somewhere else on its own locomotion. Or you just put somebody on it and there you go. Boom. Woo! But yet that bike is just on its own, and on its own when you don't have it moving, stay upright, right? Unless you have it on a kickstand. But on the bike on its own, in its proper form to be moving without a kickstand, it needs this motion to actually be upright, right? And we just know that. So we look at the design of things to know what it's capable of and what about it. To learn about its nature, we look at the design, right? And so what are we looking at on the human body? The design. About your skin color, these freaking bones. As in what's aligning when you pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And then you leave your swallowing muscle. What exactly is aligning? Is it your bones, maybe? Is it easier to feel the rainbow arches? Is it easier to feel these blue lines, to follow this design as you're pretending that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out? And you leave your swallowing muscles alone. You leave your swallowing muscles alone. Don't even think about breathing. Your body will do that on its own. Just pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And leave your swallowed muscles alone. And how does that feel? Is it easier to feel it way here? Does your neck go crazy like it does for me? Or does it feel so loose, so free, and so lovely? Yes, we're looking at the design. You know, it doesn't care about your skin color, your design. As in your bones. As in, don't we share these bones? For a second, that stream. If these bones were not these ways, would we be able to laugh in the way that we do? If these bones were not this way, would we be able to experience the world, hear the world, see the world in the way that we do? Is our vision and our hearing, all of our senses, our kinesthesia even, our sense of our body, are these not all changed and affected by the world around us? And our inner world, constantly, right? Our emotions, and also the outside world itself. Are they not all battling for attention for what is... And so don't your senses change a little bit depending on the circumstances, right? Sometimes we get tunnel vision, right? The room warps, right? There's all sorts of phrases that are related to our experience warping depending on what's going on, right? Hot feet, right? Or cold feet. Cold shoulder. Heart eyes. Heart eyes. We have all these like kinesthetic words that are related to the idea of our body being affected by the world around us, right? Our body being affected by the world around us, right? And so we know our body does react to the world and the things around it. From the inside too, right? Our inner experience gets changed by what we're experiencing.